So hello everyone, uh, good evening. So we welcome you all to this live session on the 4.2 test that has been organized today in the morning sessions. So we will try to analyze the questions, okay, that have come up in your respective paper of ethics, okay. So in this scenario, you have to see that how you should tackle the respective questions that are associated with the situations that we can see in this upcoming times in the paper, okay. So we will also discuss about various points associated with this paper, okay, and this paper will mainly contribute to some of the important topics which you can see on your screen, that goes like probity, okay, that goes like citizen charter, then goes like work culture, corruption, integrity, as well as intelligence. So you can see all these respective topics, okay, that has been covered in this respective paper. So let's start with today's session. Okay, so the first question which has been reflected on your screen, saying about the Rawls theory that has made significant contributions to bringing the true meaning and importance of liberty to the forefront. Analyze and say it to be critically analyzed. Okay, so you can see that when I say about John Rawls, okay, so John Rawls, who was basically from this period, existed from this period, was a modern philosopher who researched theories of justice. And what are the two basic principles of Rawls that we can see? It is the equality and difference. Okay, we can see equality as well as difference as one of the major principles of John Rawls. So I can say that in equality, John Rawls directly said that state must guarantee fair equality of opportunities for competition to positions of public office and employment. So here he said about the concept of equality, where he directly said that equality should exist in every type of positions that is hold for public office as well as various employment opportunities, one of its main concept which is known as equality. Then if I see about the difference, that means he said about the social and economic inequalities that must be arranged in a manner that they are working the greatest benefit of the least advantaged members of the society. So he took and said about the difference that existed in the society, basically for whom? For the social and economic inequalities that we can see in our society today. So he was basically saying about the difference that he holds towards John Rawls. Okay, so that is, we can see how we have these two main principles of Rawls, which is equality as well as difference. Okay, then if I have to say about a critical evaluation of this particular element, I can say that the difference principle is opposed by utilitarian because it does not maximize utility, and Rawls uses this principle as the main theory for comparison with his own innate theory of justice. So he responsible to these utilitarian objectives and argues for his own theory over utilitarianism. So he said that his theory is more prone towards subjectivity, as well as he can say that his theory was totally in his practicalist approach. So therefore, when he talked about the difference as well as equalities, we can see him pronouncing the problems that the society has faced in that number of periods. Okay, so therefore you can see that the difference principle is also criticized as a primarily distributive principle because it largely ignores claims that people deserve certain economic benefits based on their actions. Okay, so that is one of the main criticization of John Rawls with respect to the difference principles. Okay, also some of the libertarians directly argue that difference principle violates liberty is unacceptable ways. For example, the difference principle may necessitate redistributive taxation to the poor, which libertarians commonly object to because such taxation involves the immoral taking of just holdings. So there are some of the important criteria which we need to see in the theory of John Rawls, which are very important for his particular concept of justice. Okay, so that is the type of answer that you need to take in this particular answer. Okay, so you can lastly write that this theory was developed more to deal with societal problems, and there are challenges in applying the principles to individual decision making involving specific others. So political freedoms sow vital seeds that uplift society on a variety of levels, from expanding economic options that can help raise nations out of the poverty to expanding chances for creative and cultural expression. So therefore, John Rawls' theory was basically imbibed to give the society more power as well as to give the society more importance towards the wholesome approach. Okay, so that is the fundamental principle of this particular question. Next, if I comes to the second question saying about what is the menace of paid news in India? In this context, bring out TRAI's, that is the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India's recommendations on improving media governance in the country. Okay, so this is a complexion of some of the ethical principles which we need to follow in the paid news or in any forms of news today that we are publishing in the public. So, yeah, the question key. The study of the Press Council defines paid news as any news or analysis that is published in any media in exchange for payment in cash or kind. So that is the definition of what is paid media or what is paid news. Okay, then if you see about, for instance, Ashok Chavan, who is a former chief minister in Maharashtra, used campaign funds for paid news, and in 2009, Bhupinder Singh Hooda, then chief minister of Haryana, acknowledged that he offered money to the newspapers to stop printing unfavorable paid news that he was allegedly was funded by his opposition. So therefore, you can see some of the examples of the paid news, and you have to directly refer it after you are directly defining on the respective what is the paid news. So the definition after the paid news can be seen, and with this we can see the respective examples or instances that goes with this element of answers. Okay, then you have to see about the TRAI, that is the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. So how this controls and what is the recommendations done with the TRAI? I can say that this entity holds a 32% market share in both the print and electronic platforms, must either exit from one of the mediums or reduce its stake to around 20%. Okay, so therefore it is one of the major criteria which TRAI recommended on the basis of paid news. So 32% market share in both the print and electronic platforms, must either exit from one of the mediums or reduce its stake to 20%. It was our first recommendation. That's what question. A ban on political parties and other public funded bodies from owning TV channels and distribution platforms. So political party কেতিয়াও TV channel লব নালাগে কারণ obviously আমার জানা কথা হয় যে যদি political party TV channel টা লৈ থৈ দিয়ে then obviously কাৰ news আহিব that particular political party. So that is very much ill towards the society. Okay, so it was the second factor ahi gol. Tarpot editorial independence should be ensured by creating a media regulator to be predominantly manned by eminent non-media persons. Important criteria. Okay, tarpot private treaties should be prescribed immediately through orders of the Press Council of India or through statutory rules and regulations. Okay, that is one of the fourth criteria. On paid news, it has said that both media organization and persons like an MP or MLA paying for favorable news should be held liable. So it was another important criteria which is very important on this respective aspects. Okay, so ekini amar recommendation asile. So you can see that today it also said that media organization must disclose to the licensor, and the right to freedom of speech is essential for democracy, but the media must provide accurate, truthful and unbiased information. So first paid news kola, examples dila, TRAI recommendations kini kola, and then write a suitable conclusion is the demand of the respective answer. Okay, so hope I have make myself clear in this particular question. Next I now, what is the importance of transparency in public service and how does it impact accountability and public trust in government's institution? First क्या है वो transparency definition. Okay, static सा thing है, सब definition कर पाएंगे. Okay. Then we can see when we say about transparency, okay, when it is defined transparency in public service and how does it impact accountability and public trust. Okay, so transparency can make public trust aro like accountability depend on it. So you have to also go for accountability. What is accountability? What is public trust? And then say about something which leads to transparency and accountability. That means if you need to be a government to be very transparent, then at some point of time you will engage more and more towards the government, and that is referred to as what? Public participation. So public participation is a very important component once you are talking about transparency, once you are talking about transparency in democracy. Okay, so yate hetu lagibo tarpot ki lagibo efficiency and effectiveness. Okay, then we can say about prevention of corruption, one of the important aspect of transparency, because without preventing corruption you cannot hold the liability of making any system transparent. Because with the system going transparent, then obviously at some point of time, you have to be with a mandate that you will directly go with the process of making everything crystal clear. Okay, so that is with respective to the prevention of corruption, and then just write overall about how the transparency in public service is crucial for ensuring accountability and preventing corruption, and how we can enhance the legitimacy, strengthen democratic process, and better serve the needs and aspirations of the citizens. Okay, so overall approach study bola ibo. So yate transparency, public trust, and even accountability logot ami ki libo laibo, citizens participation kotha kobo lagibo, efficiency and effectiveness of the respective organization kotha kobo lagibo, and also we have to say about the prevention of corruption. Even here you can say about various number of acts as well as bodies which tackle the forms of corruption in today's India. Okay, so ekhini kotha ami yate kobo pari. Next, citing few examples of civil servants, state what qualities have you imbibed from them. Okay, so it is basically saying about the civil services and its respective mandates that one needs to follow being a civil servant. So obviously you have to go for the background, that is the backbone of the government is the civil services, and they are the ones who actually bring about changes on the ground. Many government workers have performed admirably and with distinction, setting an example for aspiring officers. So examples, over 7,500 lives have been changed by Sri Raj Yadav's adoption of 5 Sikkim villages, and the district administration adopted village approach which adopt undeveloped villages by directly assuming responsibility for the development was introduced by him. So obviously it is particularly an example. You can quote one another example of Tamil Nadu's Sri Sandeep Nanduri, who opened a cafe named Cafe Abel that is solely handled by people with disabilities. Okay, then you can see about the Athar Amir Khan 10 years efforts to end child marriages and improve education in Rajasthan's Bhilwara. Okay, so we all know about Athar Amir Khan. Okay, so and then we can see observing the future and having a strong devotion to modern ethos and values are learned qualities. Also, we can see about Chhattisgarh Sri Avani Sharan's bike ambulance initiative through tribal doorsteps has helped cut medical costs by 90%. Also, Sri Umakat Umro recharged groundwater and built over 16,000 ponds to assist farmers in battling drought. Basically going with the slogan Jal Bachao, Love Kamao. Okay, so ebilak etata amar initiatives which has been taken by various number of people who are basically civil servants. And you can say about N.K. Singh, who was a deceased IPS officer who gave his life in the MP district of Chhatarpur while battling the Sen mafias. Okay, so ebilak bostu ahi jay. Okay, ebilak bostu ami kobo lagibo. So you can take, because here the question has been asked about some of the qualities that you are deriving from the civil servant. So obviously you will go for more to 4 to 5 number of points. Sari pasta point jaboi lagibo, sari pasta example diboi lagibo. Without going for this 4 to 5 examples, obviously your answer will directly not hold good. Okay, only mentioning the qualities will not have a very good type of answer. Then you have to say at some point of time, you have to go ahead with some of the examples that you need to produce in this answer. Our A examples will you can directly cut it from this particular 5 that I have said. Okay, that's all. Learn characters like selflessness, integrity, and commitment to services. Okay, so ekini at a brief that through this number of cases or through this number of stories, we can learn that integrity, professionalism, okay, accountability, transparency, hard work, persistencies, okay, fortitude, empathy, we can build up a good India, we can build up a uniform India, we can build up this whole country in a level of goodness. So enake koi pela the conclusion di pela you can directly end off this particular question. Okay? Chalo. Work culture is an important aspect of good governance. Elucidate. So the main concept to ki hoy work culture. Okay, so work culture jodi bhal nohoy, then obviously ketiao ami good governance na pao. Okay, so work culture kodila ki hoy, it is regarded as a set of practices, values and shared beliefs within an organization. Work culture is a way of life at the workplace and for society reflecting the quality of both people and institutions. One of the important aspects of work culture. Okay, then you can say that how work culture is a component of effective governance. So you can see that a positive work culture fosters the habits of timeliness and empathy, which enable officials and other organization members to better carry out their duties. So jetia amar work culture, always when you say that work culture works as an effectiveness of governance, you can see jetia amar eta situation, jetia amar ekhon society সদায় যেতিয়া work culture to সদায় ভাল হ'ব, সদায় যেতিয়া আমি য'ত কাম কৰি আছো সেই বস্তুটো যদি সদায় ভাল হয়, At some point of time, you can directly say that work culture becomes an integral part of the society. And when work culture makes an integral part of the society, obviously, every type of environment that you have today with respect to the work culture, you can see that this environment will basically suitably help you in the coming future. So at some point of time, if you do not have got a work culture, if you do not have got a work environment, then obviously you will not directly go for engaging in any form of work. So at a proper work schedule, if you need to go ahead with a proper work time period, you have to engage in various number of work environment. You have to go for with various number of work culture that is required and established by the society. It amak lagibo. Okay, so jetia amak bostutu work culture bostutu lage, then obviously at some point of time I can directly say that work culture becomes an integral part of the society. Okay, so etu ahi gol, the positive work culture fosters the habits of timeliness and empathy. Okay, tahot koise healthy work culture promotes competition. Jodi aji moi healthy competition koru, then obviously at some point of time we will directly grow bigger. Okay, so therefore if a healthy competition is very good as compared to an unhealthy competition, jot ami 2 numberi kam kori pela ami agbahibole chao, obviously that is very bad. Okay, then laziness of some officials working in a few government institutions hinder overall growth. So as is ami dekhu that the people who are working in a respective organization, if they are very lazy, if they are very not working good, so at some point of time I can directly say that this leads to laziness of that particular society, which at time directly leads to inefficiency of the respective organization. Okay, that's what we say. A work culture that values diversity, draws in greater talent, serves the public in the best way possible. So today, if I have to see about the work culture of the government of the respective organizations, today we can see that in a country like us, we have got what? We have got a lot sense of people. I mean, both kini manu dekho. Okay, today people in a country like us, today if you go to a government agency, we can find Hindus, we can find Muslims, we can find Christians, we can find Sikhs, we can find Buddhists, okay, we can find Jains, we can find even atheists. So both dharanar manu pao, who belongs to different communities, different culture, different religion, but still all are working together for the common goal, for the upliftment of the government's aim and motto. So yate ki hoy jay? So work culture jot value diversity diya jay, then obviously this work culture will be far greater as compared to the other one. So that's what I say. A collaborative workplace culture encourages learning from one another's failures and success, hence bringing out the best in the team. So as today moi nijor workplace to collaboration goal. Collaboration in the sense, today if I talks about the other one in a very collaborative manner, if I takes the help of the other person in a very collaborative and a cohesive manner, at some point of time this will lead to what? A good effort, which is basically known as good team effort. And without a team effort, you cannot directly aspire much longer in the coming times. Without your team having a proper boost on you, you cannot expect that you will directly enhance your productivity in the respective organization. So obviously you have to think about the team for the collaboration and also for the upliftment of them. Okay, so a bostu kini ahi jay amar code in this particular attitude, which is known as the collaborative workplace. So therefore people in India lacks confidence in the government system due to bureaucratic hurdles, and a good work culture shapes the outcomes and the perception in the eyes of the public and also attracts the best available talent, which in turn serves the organization better. Therefore, the presence of a healthy and constructive work culture is of utmost importance. So, এইটো এটা আমাৰ ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট ফেক্টৰ হৈ যায় যে যদি আমাৰ ৱৰ্ক কালচাৰটো ভাল নহয়, যদি আমাৰ ৱৰ্ক কালচাৰটো ডিটোৰিয়েট হ'ব ধৰে, বা যদি আমাৰ ৱৰ্ক কালচাৰটো আমি যদি দেখো যে ৱৰ্ক কালচাৰ ইজ ভেৰি মাছ নট প্ৰপাৰ, so at some point of time we can see that the work cultures will defy us, work culture will make the whole system, the organization failure. Okay, and therefore this collaboration without a work culture will be totally going into ashes. So এই বস্তুখিনি আমি মনত ৰাখিব লাগিব when we are discussing about the work culture of a respective organization. Next question to ahile, corruption causes misuse of government treasury, administrative inefficiency and obstruction in the path of national development. Discuss Kautilya's views. So when I say about corruption, so Kautilya in his Arthashastra, he said much about corruption and how to prevent the menace of corruption. So corruption enuka nohoy je aji dinor corruption. Corruption is a very traditional element. It's obviously, I can say corruption is basically a crime. So corruption is basically a traditional crime. So I mean internal security poho traditional non-traditional crime. So corruption can be seen as a traditional crime which existed from centuries after centuries. So therefore in this time period when I say about corruption, here the question has been asked about to define the Kautilya's view in the corruption. So first Kautila, the corruption to key hai. Okay, so you can say that Kautilya presented a pictorial representation of corruption in his Arthashastra. Define Kautila logote. Okay, then you can see that according administration and corruption went hand in hand, and according to Kautilya he offers a thorough list of 40 different types of embezzlements. And according to the Arthashastra, a rise in spending and decrease in revenue collection were signs that dishonest authorities were embezzling money. Okay, so etu ki hoy? Eta particular scene hoy, eta symptom hoy. Okay, that means according to Arthashastra, that means Kautilya's version, a rise in spending, jodi kharos beshi hoy ase, and a decrease in revenue income were signs that dishonest authorities were embezzling money. Mane dishonest mane ki? The people who are not honest are known as dishonest people. So they are directly taking out money so that they can directly make the benefits of them. Benefits to tahantor nijor karone. So that is one of the criteria which has been said and discussed in Arthashastra by Kautilya. Okay, so etu kotha yate koa goise. Then you can say that the characterization of self-indulgence by officials as employing or inducing self-indulgence in others over the king's property. So this is akin to the present practice of abusing public officers to profit oneself, family members, friends and relatives unjustly. So yate mainly jodi ami ko the problem of nepotism today. Okay, problem of favoritism today. Okay, problem of rat tapism today. এই বস্তু বিলাকে ইয়াতে আজিৰ দিনত ডিসকাস কৰা গৈছে, which has been referred on by at that period of time by whom? By Kautilya in his Arthashastra. Okay, তাৰপিছত কৈছে he ordered a rigorous vigil, মানে চোৱাচিতা কৰিব লাগে, on the superintendence of governments to prevent this, and he advocated for professionalism at work to stop the output decline and corruption. And along with the confiscation of the ill-gotten health, he argued for the imposition of harsh fines, and additionally, Kautilya suggested that several the positions in each department be transitory, and he supported moving government employees around on a regular basis, which was done with the purpose of denying them sufficient time to find flaws in system and take advantage of them. So his ideas are still relevant today if corruption to be eradicated from the government. So tekhete jikhini koi gol corruption or jikhini menace, okay, corruption or jikhini principles hoy, jikhini corrupt janeke jitu through the corruption hoy ase. So সেই বস্তুখিনি মেনেজ কৰিবলৈ তেখেতে বহুত দিনৰ আগতে তেতিয়া দিনতে বহুতখিনি কথা কৈ গৈছিল, আৰু সেই কথাখিনি যদি আমি আজি আমাৰ নিজৰ কামত যদি এপ্লাই কৰোঁ, then obviously we can say that we will move towards a corruption free nation. So এই বস্তু আমাক ইয়াতে লাগিব, which Kautilya suggested that several positions in each department be transitory, and he supported moving government employees around on a regular basis. এটা জেগাতে বেছি টাইম থাকিব নালাগে, ট্ৰান্সফাৰ্স কৰাব লাগে, okay, obviously from one place to another shift কৰাব লাগে, আজিকালিতো হৈ আছে from one department to another department, এইটো এটা নতুন টেন্ডেন্সি চলি আছে. So এই প্ৰসেস বিলাক চলিব লাগে so as to lessen the corruption menace that we can see today in our society. Okay, so এই বস্তুটোৱে আজি ইয়াতে কোৱা গৈছে, যোনখিনি directly coming under the professionalism aspect of Kautilya and what he basically said about the corruption as a menace and how this can be relevant today. So this is the model answer that you need to crack. Okay, next. Ki goise? A system of morality which is based on relative emotional values is a mere illusion. Thoroughly vulgar conception which has nothing sound in it and nothing true. Socrates. So what does the quotation mean to you? So that ki goise? That a system of morality which is based on relative emotional values is a mere illusion and thoroughly vulgar conception which has nothing to sound and nothing to be true. Okay, so etu kune koisile? Socrates koisile. Okay, so ei bostutuk amak koise se yate ami ki interpretation koru. Okay, so yate first kolilo what is morality. Okay, then comes what this means to you. Let us see how moral arguments using relative emotional values look like. Supposedly the first one, if you help someone but he does not help you back. Okay, তুমি কাবাক হেল্প কৰিছা but he তোমাক turn out help back নকৰিলে, তো ইয়াতে আমি কি বুজিছো? He explains his action in that you help because you believe in the values of helping, and he does not believe in the values of helping, so he will not help. কাবাৰ তাত হেল্প কৰাৰ ভ্যালুজ আছে and কাবাৰ তাত হেল্প কৰাৰ ভ্যালুজ নাই so at some point of time some will help you some will not help you but since you have imbibed with the value of helping the others then obviously you will directly go and help without in favor any return okay so etu ahi gol tar upor further explains kora goise that anyone can help expecting future help in return greatness lies in helping without expecting any future help at all মানুহে কাবাক হেল্প কৰে বা মানুহে কিবা এটা সহায় কৰি পেলাই মানুহে কেতিয়াবা যদি ভাবি লয় যে ফিউচাৰত ই মোক হেল্প কৰিব then at some point of time I can say that obviously in the future if you does not get any form of help with that respective person so তোমাৰ মনটো বেয়া লাগিব তুমি ক'বলৈ যাবা যে মইতো হেল্প কৰিছিলো তাৰ নিডি টাইমত মোক হেল্প নকৰিলে so obviously মানুহৰ এই এক্সপেক্টেশনটো থাকিব নালাগে মানুহৰ যদি এই এক্সপেক্টেশনটো থাকি যায় that at some point of time I can directly say that this is not a good habit this is not a good value that you are ridden under so এইটোৱে first explain কৰিলে ইয়াতে তাৰপিছত কৈছো that a person commits a theft and explain his crime he চুৰ কৰিলে but তাৰপিছত he নিজৰ crime to explain কৰি আছে so I can say what I believe in anarchy and it is unfair to impose this democratic definitions of crime and punish me for that so at some point of time if a person who has basically done a crime and তাৰপিছত যদি আহি পেলাই repent কৰি আছে যে মই crime টো কৰিলো okay so obviously ইয়াতে কোৱা গৈছে that person commits a theft and explains his crime যে মই কিহৰ কাৰণে কৰিলো what is the things that are attached with this crime if I should explain কৰি থাকে then I can also say that this is totally some of the unfair practices that you need to have today in our society because killing does not justify anyone okay so etu amar second values ahile then a person becomes tolerant of all religion explaining supposedly that religious emotional values are relative and there is no single absolute truth of God and the second does I stay either as an atheist or as a tolerant to all religions so yate religion loi bostu to ahi jabe okay ei jitu amar Socrates কৈ গৈছিলে so Socrates definition to আমি তিনটা প্ৰকাৰত আমি ডিফাইন কৰিব পাৰো so ইয়াতে আজি লাষ্টটো কি কলো person becomes tolerant of all religions and it's basically you can see that when a person becomes tolerant of all religions you can see that we live in a society where everyone will be respected where everyone will be basically made some of the good responses towards holding a good society to যিমানে আমাৰ tolerance বাঢ়ি যাব যিমানে আমাৰ diversity বাঢ়ি যাব হিমানে আমি বেছি শিকিব পাৰিম আৰু হিমানে যদি আমি বেছিকে শিকো so at some point of time I can directly say that people will directly understand you people will directly have a good faith on you people will directly have a good judgment towards you and people will look for development towards you so ei bostu tu yate ahisile in this one so today if I have to say about the analysis we can say that as we can say in some cases arguments based on relative emotional values are causing bad consequences as an example 1 and 2 in the case of example 3 the person becomes tolerant accepting the relative nature of religious and emotional values okay so argument based on relative values do not form a perfect moral system and therefore just because such system is yielding good arguments in some moral cases it is just a temporary exception and doesn't illusion so this is what Socrates wants to convey according to me okay so that is basically the type of definition that you need to take when you need to define this particular element of question which is basically the philosophical level question so here tomar understanding ki tomar interpretation ki that is very very important once you are having the associative effects with this type of questions okay so it was equal Socrates or look next if I comes toward this in looking for people to hire you look for three qualities what are these integrity intelligence and energy okay key quality integrity intelligence and energy and if they do not have the first the other two will kill you etu kune koisile Warren Buffett so what do you understand by the statement in the present day scenario explain okay simple sa question hai yate tinta bostu dia ase dila like even while brilliance and energies are excellent characteristics of achievers people without integrity couldn't be harmful so the other two traits are troublesome without honesty okay so it means that brilliance and energy today are dangerous without the sobering touch of honesty and it might produce official decision makers or leaders who are harmful intelligence and energy are inferior to integrity of moral soundness and integrity manages and uses intellect while keeping energy under control Okay, so people without integrity, even they are extremely intelligent, should not be trusted or recruited. So people who are not having integrity, which is basically one form of honesty. So obviously, মই যদি কোনোবা এটা জেগাত মানুহ এটাক যদি মই ৰিক্ৰুইট কৰি আছো, so I will see that if the person is very much integrated towards the system or not. If the person is not having an integration towards the system, then obviously he may not be a fruitful person for me. And at some point of time, I can directly say that he may not regard me as a person inside the system. And this may lead to the failure of the systems at this particular circumstances. And this is very essential if you have to go ahead with such number of problems. Because without having this type of problems, you can see that the associated effects of this particular element becomes derogatory. Okay, so so someone with integrity would be dependable, and intelligence but dishonest person may have the propensity to commit fraud or theft. Okay, and in the modern world, persons who lack morality yet possess high levels of knowledge and vigor frequently commit financial fraud. Okay, financial fraud মানে কি? আজিকালি দেখিছো যে কিছুমান জনা বুজা মানুহ, পঢ়া লিখা মানুহ কিছুমান বেয়া কাম কৰিবলৈ ভয় নকৰে. Okay, recently there has been a cases going on, okay, about a doctor couple. Okay, so আমি জানো যে ইমান হাই লেভেলৰ পঢ়া শুনা কৰিও মানুহে কেনেকৈ এটা বেয়া পথ এটা লৈ লয়. Okay, এইটো মই ফাইনেন্সিয়েল ফ্ৰডৰ কথা কৈছো. But you can see the aspirations of the people today, how they are basically going towards something which is not accepted in the society and which one cannot do who is a person of integrity. So এই বস্তুবিলাক আমি চাব লাগিব. So without all this, you cannot expect yourself to become a person of integrity and also a person who is basically having a good values towards the society. So এই বস্তুবিলাক আমাক বহুত importantly লাগে. So therefore, without integrity, decision makers and leaders in the political, economic and administrative spheres today will bring about turmoil and danger for the society. And a person with little integrity will violate morals and obstruct society advancement while using knowledge to advance their own advancements. So therefore, in conclusion, Warren Buffett's statement that integrity is a critical quality in the hiring process holds even more relevance in today's world, and employers must prioritize integrity during the hiring process to ensure that they are hiring individuals who are honest, ethical, and act in the best interest of their organizations and society at large. So obviously, without having the integrity approach, without having a good form of integrity, you cannot expect that you can hold a good society, you can hold a good place in the society, and obviously, at some point of time, you will never be appreciated with such number of lacuna of integrity, as well as various number of other factors like accountability, as well as trust factor, and every other values which have been emancipated and enshrined in the respective society. Okay, so egita hila amar this question or answer, that is question number 8. Okay, coming to the 9th question. If a country is to be corruption free and become a nation of beautiful minds, I strongly feel there are 3 key societal members who can make a difference. And they are the father, the mother, and the teacher. Who has said it? APJ Abdul Kalam Sahab. Okay, so this is the one which has been defined by this particular person during his time. Okay, when he was basically one of the main person behind every form of logic that we can see today with respective to the greatness today we have towards this particular people who are basically the scientists, who are basically the people who has enshrined some of the good qualities amongst us. So here a key question. So it is believed that corruption first emerged in people's thinking. The way that people think, behave and view the world can either make a guy corrupt or ineffectively honest. So মানুহে যেনেকৈ ইন্টাৰপ্ৰিটেশ্যন কৰোঁ, মই এটা বস্তু যেনেকৈ ভাবিছোঁ, বস্তুটো মোৰ কাৰণে সদায় সেইটোৱে হ'ব. মই যদি ছ'চাইটিখনক বেয়াকৈ লৈছোঁ, যিখন ছ'চাইটিয়ে মোক বহুতখিনি বস্তু দিছে আজি, সেই ছ'চাইটিখনক যদি মই বেয়াকৈ লৈছোঁ, then at some point of time I can directly say that obviously ছ'চাইটিত যদি মই ভাল বস্তু এটা কৰা নাই, ছ'চাইটিত যদি মই ভাল কাম এটা কৰা নাই, ছ'চাইটিয়ে যদি মই ছ'চাইটিক ট'টেলি ইগন'ৰ কৰিছোঁ, at some point of time I can directly say that I am not a part of the value system of the society. Because society's যিখিনি ভ্যালু আছিলে মই সেইখিনি কেতিয়াও ল'বই নোৱাৰিলোঁ. So therefore, ইয়াতে সেইটো কথা কোৱা গৈছে that it is on the minds of the people how you are interpreting a respective society, a respective world. So the fundamental and the long-lasting cure to corruption entails instilling increasing amounts of moral and ethical principles from an early age, which is what develops character. So parents, teachers, families, and society, among others, all have a significant impact on a child's character formation from an early age. So better socialization by parents and teachers for corruption free. So here কি কৰিব লাগিব? a child is her mother's reflection. Because obviously a child is much closer towards his mother as compared towards his father. So I can say that a child is basically a mother's reflection. Okay, then the mother teaches the child love, compassion, forgiveness, humanity, equality, kindness, respect, generosity, and ethics, and all of which are qualities that lessen corruption. যদি মই সৰুৰ পৰা শিকাই আছো যে খং কৰিব নালাগে, যদি মই সৰুৰ পৰা শিকাই আছো যে মানুহক ভালকৈ ৰেসপেক্ট কৰিব লাগে, যদি মই সৰুৰ পৰা শিকাই আছো that this should be done, this should not be done, মই সদায় বেয়া কাম কৰিলে ৰখাই দিওঁ, ভাল কাম কৰিলে উৎসাহ দিওঁ, so at some point of time it will directly go on the minds of the child that yes, this needs to be done and this not needs to be done. Okay, this is the thing that has been accepted by the society and this is the thing that has not been accepted in the society. Important results. Okay, so এইখিনি বস্তু আমাক ইয়াতে লাগিব. Then if I have to see, for many kids, father is their role model. Father have an impact on how their children develop their leadership, responsibility, discipline, consistency, fearlessness, and various other qualities. So etu card hoye jay father hoye jay. Okay, which is all very important. Then a youngster who receives strong parental support is more likely to grow up to be happy, healthy, lifelong learner who acts morally throughout his or her entire life. So a person who is directly in the ambit of this particular people, be it a father, mother, okay, or even a teacher if I say, so jodi hetu accumulation thake, I can directly say that a person directly grows in a very effective manner, and obviously in the near stage of time he will obviously take some of the moral decisions. He will never go in the mandate of being immoral. He get you immoral jabo nware, because if he goes immoral that means his background is very poor. মই যদি আজি কালি পৰহি যদি মই এটা কুকুৰৰ পোৱালি লৈ আহো, মই মেকুৰীৰ পোৱালি লৈ আহো, okay, and if I makes them adapt to situations like us, then obviously he will be inside the situation like us. He will never go something. It is যদি মই কওঁ today many people have got dogs in their home, supposedly মই labrador বুলিয়ে কওঁ. So these labradors, can you expect these labradors of the Eurasia that has been found in these regions of Russia? Can you compare these labradors of Assam or Guwahati or any other place of India with the labradors of the Eurasia, of the polar regions? You cannot expect. Amar bilak kenuka hoy, thodua hoy eta eta, but tahator bilak activeness, wild dogs type, they go for killings. Amar bilak jaokson Rashtar kukur eta tahator dorai dibo. I am saying about the labradors. So ebilak kiho kane hoy ase? This is all because of the adaptabilities. Because without having such number of adaptabilities, it's very difficult to have the illustration of a good and moral person. The earliest instruction is good and wrong that child receives is from his or her parents, who teach them not to steal, never lie, and not to willfully hurt others. So the task of establishing a student's future foundation falls heavy, and they are the most crucial nation builders because they oversee shaping children's whole personalities as well as intellectually nourishing young minds. So today, if you directly come in touch with us, okay, so obviously we can see that we have got an address, we have got an office, we are an organization, we have got a team. So at some point of time, if you come to us, if you learn something from us, then obviously at some point of time you will directly say that my young mind has been refined by this organization. My young minds, my bad beliefs has been refined by this organization. So that is one of the crucial aspects of you being an important part of this respective attributes of the nation. So therefore, that is the role of the teacher. That's what I said, that a teacher sets the foundation for a responsible citizen of the country by educating students about discipline and taking responsibility for their actions at an early age. And teachers also instill values like teamwork, sharing, fair play, and cooperation. আগতে যে আমাক কিছুমান প্ৰজেক্ট দিয়ে, গ্ৰুপ প্ৰজেক্টছ, সেই গ্ৰুপ প্ৰজেক্টবিলাকত স্কুলত আমি কি শিকোঁ? টিমৱৰ্ক শিকোঁ. টিফিন যে একেলগে খাব দিয়ে, সেইটোত আমি কি শিকোঁ? শ্বেয়াৰিং শিকোঁ. ফেয়াৰ প্লে এইবিলাক ক'ত শিকোঁ? ডিউৰিং দ্য টাইম অফ এক্সামছ. অ'কে, যে কাকো চিটিং কৰিব নিদিওঁ, যোনে যেনেকৈ নম্বৰ পাইছে তেনেকৈ পাব. টাফ পেপাৰ আহিলে চবৰ কাৰণে টাফ পেপাৰ, ইজি পেপাৰ আহিলে চবৰ কাৰণে ইজি পেপাৰ, ফেয়াৰ প্লে এণ্ড অবভিয়াছলি কোঅপাৰেশ্যন. এইটো কেতিয়া শিকোঁ? During various number of meets. supposedly এটো স্পোর্টস মিট হ'ব পাৰে ওকে supposedly এটো সায়েন্স ফোরাম হ'ব পাৰে সায়েন্স মিট কিবা কিবি হৈ থাকে ওকে সাপোজ রিজনাল স্কুলস মিট হয় আমাৰ regional school meets. So all these are a part of the cooperation that we have learned during the school times. So এইবিলাক বস্তু আমাৰ বাহে when and this is basically done by whom? A respective teacher. Okay, so therefore the upbringing provided by parents, educators affects whether a country will be made up of morally upstanding, combative Indians or dumb minds willing to compromise on their morals. So যিবিলাক dumb minds থাকে obviously সেই dumb minds বিলাকে কি কৰে? Morals to লগত compromise কৰে. Because once you are directly having a good type of minds, developed minds, strong minds, I can directly say that this will make the country wholesomely better and a good country to thrive in. Important aspect with it. Okay? Next, what are the principles of effective public service delivery? Why it is an important component of governance? Explain with the context of Sevattam model. Principles of effective public service delivery. Okay, what are the principles of effective public service delivery? Where a key is one of the state's fundamental responsibility is the provision of numerous public goods and services, and this involves crucial regulatory functions for upholding order in the society by making sure that appropriate standards of conduct are created by acts and rules. So what are the principles of effective public service delivery? কি আছে? People centeredness. যেতিয়া আমি পাব্লিকক কিবা এটা দিবলৈ গৈ আছো, পাব্লিকৰ কাৰণে আমি কিবা এটা কৰিবলৈ গৈ আছো, then obviously at some point of time we will be people centered. আমি মানুহৰ কথা শুনিব লাগিব আৰু সেই কথা দি পেলাইহে আমি ডাইৰেক্টলি এটা বস্তু দিব পাৰিম তেখেতসকলক. So listening to customers, adapting to the requirements, respecting their unique individuals and responding to the complaints are a person of public service delivery. Okay, principle of public service delivery. That's what equity. Equity মানে people who are privileged, underprivileged, সবকে আমি equal treatment দিব লাগিব. Supposedly today we can see that we judge a person by his respective clothes. But obviously a person who is directly wearing some bad clothes, he has got more money with a person who is directly wearing good clothes. So এই বস্তুবিলাক আহি যায়. Okay. Then responsiveness. So it is important to make the state service delivery interface with the public responsiveness to their respective requirements. That's what I say rationality. All decisions of service delivery would be taken on the basis of facts and data. Okay, responsive মানে মানুহ respond কৰিব লাগিব আমি ভালকে, and with this responsiveness I can directly enhance my cooperation in this coming time. That's what rationality. That means all decisions of service delivery would be taken on the basis of facts and data. Okay, ZT interpretation আমি কৰিব নোৱাৰো আৰু হেতু কৰিবও নালাগে কাৰণ হেতু কৰিলে কি হ'ব obviously মানুহৰ আগত বেয়া ইমপ্ৰেশন এটা পৰি যায়. Okay, so that is one of the important aspect. তাৰপিছত transparency, that is the citizens will have the right to know the standards expected to be achieved and the cost of service etc. এইবিলাক আমাক লাগিব, transparency লাগিব. Without transparency you cannot expect that the society will function better. Then we can see about accountability. The service providers would accountable not only to the government but also to the citizens. Okay, so আজি government খুশ কৰিবলৈ আমি থাকা নাই. Today we are only not to only appease the government. We are also to appease the citizens of this country who are taking our respective service. So therefore ইয়াতে কি লাগিব? ইয়াতে accountability লাগিব. So the key components of Sevattam are captured with the following objectives. কি আছে? First, you can say the implementation of citizen charter. Citizen charter কি হয়? এটা particular document about the aims and objectives of a particular organization. তাৰপিছত service delivery very important হয় because without having a good service delivery we can see that the achievements of the respective organization cannot be achieved. Then sound public grievance. Obviously যদি আমি কিবা এটা বস্তু ডেলিভাৰ কৰি আছো কালি পৰহি যদি কিবা ডাউটস আহে then obviously we can say that this doubt should be rectified in a very good manner or a very instant manner. So lastly এটা conclusion দি দিলে হৈ গ'ল. That means sufficient public service delivery can be ensured through self accountability, honesty and dedication. And this will also ensure the strengthening of good governance. So এইখিনি বস্তু আমাৰ লাগে with respect to this question which you have seen today in your paper. তাৰপিছত আহে Gandhi's conception of Purna Swaraj or complete independence went beyond the removal of colonialism. Okay, so এটা discuss কৰিব দিছে কাৰ Gandhi's concept of Purna Swaraj. Okay, so ইয়াতে Gandhi's conception of Purna Swaraj to কি হয়? Beyond the mere removal of colonialism, for Gandhi independence means achieving not only political freedom but also social, economic and cultural self-reliance for the people of India. Okay, so এইখিনি কথা কৈলা তাৰপিছত politically Gandhiয়ে কি envision কৰিছিলে এটা decentralized system কৰিছিলে of governance that emphasized local self-rule and participatory democracy, and he advocated for the empowerment of every individual, promoting the concept of Swaraj or self-governance, where people will be directly involved in decision making. So etu main questions to amar ki asile eta question okman history logar ami governance to okman mix kori disu. Okay, and what are the types of values that you are directly getting in from the systems that has been enshrined by Gandhi ji during that time. Okay, তাৰপিছত ইয়াতে কৈছে যে ইকনমিক্যালি গান্ধীজীয়ে কি বিচাৰিছিলে, পলিটিক্যালি তো বলবে সেলফ রুল বিচাৰিছিলে, স্বরাজ বিচাৰিছিলে, লোকেল লেভেল সেটআপ বিচাৰিছিলে, ইকনমিক্যালি emphasize the need for self sufficiency and self reliance, যেটো এতিয়া আমি কৰি আছো আত্মনিৰ্ভৰতা or make in India. Okay, so এটো বিচাৰিছিলে. Then culturally Gandhi stressed the preservation and promotion of India's rich heritage. He sought to revive traditional values, promote educational rooted Indian culture and spirituality, and encouraging self-discipline and moral integrity. Okay, so for Gandhi, independence encompassed the liberation of the Indian minds from the shackles of colonialism, enabling a reconnection with the nation's cultural identity. So here the board kini ahi jay, as more called traditional digital knowledge. So etu amar kihor ahi jay. So traditional knowledge, digital learning, ठीक है DL. So this is also under the aspect of Gandhi ji. Okay, Gandhi ji etu bisarisile korato. So all these things basically says about the emancipation of Gandhi's concept of the India in his respective Purna Swaraj. Where I say Gandhi concept of Purna Swaraj transcended the political realm, seeking a holistic transformation of Indian society, which aimed to create a nation where individuals had the freedom to govern themselves, economic opportunities were available to all, and cultural values were respected and cherished, where Gandhi's vision of independence remained influential, inspiring movement of self-determination and also social justice worldwide. So it was our important criteria when we are defining something which is associated with Gandhiji and its Purna Swaraj. So it was to our relevant information. Okay, so coming to the next one. Suppose the government of India is thinking of constructing a dam in a mountain valley bound by forest and inhabited by ethnic communities. What rational policy should it resolve to it in dealing with unforeseen contingencies? Okay, so yate ami jodi sabole jao that today many difficulties arise while building a dam in the mountain valley, and to ensure that unforeseen circumstances that could impede development initiatives are avoided, a thorough rehabilitation policy is required. And at its root, the problem has two main components, Kiki: environmental security and inclusive balanced economic development. Jodi ami dam construct eta kori asu aru ei dam construction jodi ami dekhisu je yate environmental security amar eku nai aru tar uporot ei gute khinit inclusive development boli bole na ke barabar. So at some point of time we will be conscious towards making this dam in that place or not. আৰু তাৰ কাৰণে বহুতখিনি কেতিয়াবা এজিটেশ্যনছ আহি যায়, প্ৰটেষ্ট আহি যায়, সেইবিলাক বস্তু আমি ৰেক্টিফাই কৰিব লাগিব, বিকজ উইদাউট ৰেক্টিফাইং such incidents it becomes very difficult for a person to emancipate goodness in the society, providing with every type of values. So typical dangers of the dam project কি আছে কৈ দিয়া. Due to their land intensive nature, because of the hilly area, dams frequently result in issues including community submersion, tribe relocation and deforestation. হ'ব পাৰে ডেম এটা বনোৱাৰ লগে লগে এইখিনি বস্তু হ'ব পাৰে, community submersion, community খিনি তললৈ গুচি যাব পানী তলত, tribe relocations, okay, সেইখিনি জায়গাৰ পৰা বেলেগ জায়গালৈ যাব, maybe it may be not be a fertile land, তাৰপিছত deforestation হ'ব, কাটা যাব trees বিলাক. Tribes has been residing in region for many generations, thus it be challenging for them to relocate in a new home and source of income, because we know tribals ৰ কাৰণে কি লাগে, জল জংগল জমিন. Okay, তো জলটো লৈ গৈ আছো, জংগলটো লৈ গৈ আছো, আৰু তাহাঁতৰ জমিনটো লৈ গৈ আছো, তো তাই তেখেতসকলে থাকিব ক'ত? So it becomes very important for them to relocate in an area or not to relocate it from this particular area. আৰু যদি কৰিব লাগে এটা better place লাগে য'ত তেখেতসকলৰ যিখিনি ডিমান্ড হয় সেইখিনি আমি ফুলফিল কৰিব পাৰোঁ. তাৰপিছত landslide, earthquake, floods, improper land use and other unpredictable problems are also examples. So rational policy কি হ'ব পাৰে? Through the employment of environmental ethics, joint forest management committees, the mobilization of CSR, corporate social responsibility funding, and training and awareness among stakeholders, are rational policies to address the problem. And the following ought to be mentioned. Kiki: transparent rehabilitation and relocation. Without having a transparent rehabilitation and relocation, it becomes very difficult for the respective persons who are associated with the tribes to relocate from one place to the other. So yate amak transparent rehabilitation eta lagibo. Okay, তাৰপিছত maintaining openness and ensuring economic welfare. তেখেতসকলৰ যিখিনি ইকনমিক ৱেলফেয়াৰ আমি কৰিব লাগিব সেইখিনি কৰাটো আমাৰ কাৰণে বহুত এসেনশিয়াল হৈ যাব কিহৰ কাৰণে because without emancipating them with the economical conditions that they have today they will totally come out with a respective revolt আৰু যেটো বস্তু আমি এতিয়াও ফেস কৰি আছো in the regions like the LWE or the red corridor which is basically the eastern corridor of Assam okay so এইবিলাক প্ৰবলেম যেন আপু নহওক তেৰি কাৰণে আমি এটা openness ৰাখিব লাগিব and also thanks for the respective welfare তাৰপিছত public hearing from the inception of planning of dam through various stages of displacement and resettlement it is to be expected that those likely to be negatively affected by the project would be consulted and kept informed in such a way to enable them to best rebuild their lives bureaucratic attitudes and insincerity should not be tolerated so yate ami with a heavy hand jodi teherokolok displace koribole jao then obviously it will become a next Buxar it will directly become a next Sukma okay which is basically in Chhattisgarh okay to hebilakor nisna situation amar nohobole ami ki bisarim je eta resettlement approach bisarim aru he resettlement approach to logor ami ki koribo lagibo we have to ensure that everything is well prepared everything is well defined and everything is well explained so that we can rehabilitate them well in a very good manner and basically it may be a phased manner or it may be an overall manner okay that's what tribal welfare kan lagibo supposedly if they are considered among the scheduled tribes we have to consider them amongst the scheduled tribe category or tehetokolok benefits to dibo lagibo ami okay so eblak amar karone important hoi jabo tarpot koise social and environmental impact assessments so yate jetia ami ei dam to banam to yate amar ei dam tur pora kiman khini amar social impact hobo kiman khini amar environmental impact hobo ei gute khini ami monitor koribo lagibo only after monitoring we can release the plan of constructing a dam at this particular location okay also disaster preparedness so it is important to build a disaster protection mechanism or vulnerability assessment that can offer early warning based on scientific inputs and it should be done to use a radio transmission to communicate such important information so therefore the most environmentally destructive scenario is India is caused by unforeseen situations and addressing environmental concerns is always a huge challenge because they are complicated interconnected phenomenon and we should learn from recent events like the floods in Kerala as well as Karnataka so the example that di pelai overall at the gist jodi tumaloke di dia then I hope that this will be more sufficient to directly form with an answer okay next explain the process of resolving ethical dilemmas in public administration okay so when it comes to public administration overcoming ethical conundrums is crucial since officials frequently deal with difficult and complex ethical problems and the following actions can be taken to overcome these conundrums in the public administration so yate ki ahi jabo first aibo identify the ethical dilemma prothomote ki dilemma hoisil hetu ami janibo lagibo identifying it okay aru tapsot he identify to ami kori pelai ami ki koribo lagibo he dilemma to upor ami information gather koribo lagibo that mood ei dilemma to ahil kyo মই এই প্ৰবলেমটো আজি ফচিলো কিয় বা মই এই প্ৰবলেমটো আজি মই ফেস কৰিলো কিয় I have to identify and then I have to gather the respective information okay তাৰপিছত consider your options যে মই কি কৰিব লাগিব এতিয়া কিবা এটা মই অপচন উলিয়াই আহিব লাগিব সেই প্ৰবলেমটোৰ পৰা ওলাবলে so I have to go and visit the respective options that I have towards mine then you have to say about analyzing these options মই যিকিটা options ললো সেই options গিটাৰ positivities আৰু negativities to মই চাব লাগিব without having these positivities and negativities I cannot say that my analysis is proper or more fruitful নহব পাৰে so এটো কাৰণে মই positivities আৰু negativities to decide on that means what I have analyzed the options that I have considered okay মই ধৰিলা 10টা অপচন ললো এই 10টা ভিতৰত মই 5টা ৰাখিব পাৰো কিয় কাৰণে because after analysis I can say that only 5 are okay for going with this particular process okay so এই বস্তুটো আমাৰ কাৰণে বহুত এটা relevant and important হৈ যায় okay তাৰপিছত কি কৈছে put the chosen course of action into action তো যেটো মই choose কৰিলো after analyzing তো হেতু মই on process on record মই কৰিব লাগিব and therefore I have to decide that particular option to be taken on the verge of such dilemma তাৰপিছত reflect on the process so after the ethical conundrums has been addressed it is crucial to reflect on the process and determine whether the selected path of action was efficient and morally right reflect মানে কি হেতু মই চাব লাগিব যে সোসাইটিয়ে মই লোৱা বস্তুটো একসেপ্ট কৰিছেনে মই যেটো ললো হেতু মৰেলি এক্সট্ৰিমলি কাৰেক্ট আছিল নে গুটে ভ্যালুজ আটাচ আছিল নে কাবাক তো হাৰ্ম হোৱা নাই তো এইবিলাক কি হয় ৰিফ্লেক্টিং অন দা প্ৰসেস সো এইটো আমাৰ হোল setup হয় which is directly needed to identify the moral dilemmas and how to resolve the conundrums that you can face within the public administration. So lastly, at the conclusion likhi dila, the resolving ethical conflicts in public administration entails an organized process that includes detecting the ethical conflict, acquiring data, and all this particular course of action that you need to take while you are directly dealing with such number of problems in the coming times. Okay? 14 ahi gol. Refugees should not be turned back to the country where they would face persecution or human rights violation. Examine the statement with reference to the ethical dimensions being violated by the nation claiming to be a democratic with an open society. Okay, very important. Okay, in a case type or the questions are here that becomes very important for the respective purpose. So yate amar mainly question to kiho kana aise refugees buli aise. Okay, so yate ahi jabo amar ki first of that is the concept of non-refoulement prohibits a nation from sending a refugee back to place where they risk persecution. However, nations that pride themselves on being democratic and having an open society frequently rejecting refugees and send them home, posing the following moral dilemmas. Okay, so as a refugees loi pelai june as a moral dilemma aru amar ke besi India ke besi refugee kune rakhe ba India ke besi refugee problem to kune bujhi kono na bujhi. We have got more number of refugee problems as like any other country. Okay, aru etu to koboi na lage refugees coming in from regions like Bangladesh. Okay, Nepal বহুত আছে এইবিলাক বস্তু ভুটান আহিয়ে থাকে মিয়ানমাৰ চলিয়ে থাকে এইবিলাক বস্তু ওকে সো ইয়াতে ফাৰ্স্ট কি আহিব নেশনাল ইন্টারেস্ট ভার্সেস গ্লোবাল রেসপন্সিবিলিটি আমাৰ কাৰণে ফাৰ্স্ট কোনটো ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট নেশনাল ইন্টারেস্টটো ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট নে গ্লোবাল রেসপন্সিবিলিটি ইম্পৰ্টেন্ট সো এই বস্তুটো আমি চাব লাগিব যে which for today's which is for us today becomes very essential in this particular purpose তাৰছত কি ক'ব লাগিব তাৰছত ক'ব লাগিব the inalienable rights to life liberty and the chance to fulfill one's potential are known as human rights and refugees are denied their fundamental human rights if they are turned away যদি তেখেতসকলক আমি এৰি দিওঁ যদি তেখেতসকলৰ ওপৰত আমি একো একশন নলওঁ then obviously we can directly say that refugees are not given their due human rights তাৰছত the categories imperatives of Kant is violated when someone is need is turned away because it cannot be universal rule. As seen by the border conflict between Belarus and European Union in 2021, certain nations are accused of utilizing migrants as a foreign policy tool, and this equates to treating individuals more like means than an ends in themselves. Such behavior failed the Gandhi's talisman's activity with considerations for the weakest. Okay, so obviously at some point of time, if you are directly using the respective elements of the population, citizens, if you are using the citizens for the benefits of your particular foreign policy and to even come up with various number of associations, so at some point of time you as an organization is basically failing. You cannot directly work with the peoples who are basically under traps, under problems, under some of the situations which may not be favorable, and in some point of time this type of situations may be faced by you as a country in the coming times. So obviously you have to think for the society, you have to think for the people who are basically denied their human rights and therefore they are referred to as refugees. Okay, so obviously you have to think with an universal rule, and also you should not go ahead with the conclusion of Gandhi's talisman, that is activity with consideration for the weakest. You have to consider for the people who have got nothing, who are weaker, and therefore they are directly seeking some of the asylum towards your country, and they have a belief that you will provide them with the asylum. So etu bostu second right jabo. Then most of the refugees suffer without any fault of their own, and they become victim of violence due to the accidents of births being born in the country. Supposedly Syria, Afghanistan, who has been persecuted community, Ahmadiyans, Rohingyas, okay, denying them the opportunity to escape violence and persecution goes against all ethical principles. Okay, so yate mainly even Uyghurs or ahi jay. Okay, but since Uyghurs are not refugees obviously, okay, so hetu kind of Uyghurs or bostu to ahi jay, which is basically on the Xinjiang regions of China. Okay, then historical accountability, that is the West is to blame for numerous refugee crises. For instance, the Sykes-Picot Agreement, colonial exploitation and practices, the Middle East, armed humanitarian intervention that sparked civil war, climate refugees, etc. And they ought to accept historical accountability for their respective deeds. So, Azi, Zuri Moi about Afghanistan, about Syria, about Yemen, ইয়াত কোনে কৰিছে? The country responsible is USA. তালিবানক কোনে বনাইছিলে? USA বনাইছিলে. Okay, Syria, and obviously if you say about Yemen, all these countries has been torn off by countries like USA. So therefore at some period of time I can directly say that because of some of the perspectives which we have, which the West have towards this particular countries, they are totally torn off, who are basically more dependent on these countries. Today they cannot do the same thing with India because India is an independent country. It directly has got some of the sovereign decision making powers. So therefore in this scenario you can see, because of the historical perspective also, such countries directly gets destabilized. Then societal ethics standards, dehumanizing refugees and refusing to acknowledge their sufferings sets a poor example for the future and causes casual qualities like compassion, understanding and care to erode in the society. Okay, and democratic liberal countries, societies with resources and capacity should accept refugees and allow them to exercise their basic human rights of life and pursuit of happiness. Because see, today if you do not have any type of elements associated with the humanity, যদি তোমালোকৰ humanity নাথাকে, okay, if supposedly you do not have got humanity in the practice of having a good human deeds, today if you are not protecting the human rights today, if you are not protecting the element of human rights, okay, being even a country which has got enough resources to even give asylum to peoples who are basically in hundreds or thousands. So as if our India judi around 1,000 manu ahe, if 5,000 people also come, if 10,000 people also come, we are in a capacity to give them asylum. But etu belek kotha je ami illegal immigrants already besi thoi disu, okay, jar karone amar digdar hoy, there is a fight for resources. But today if we as a country does not have got any form of illegal migrants, then obviously sharing or holding some 10,000 to 50,000 or to 1 lakh people is not a great deed for a country like India, because it has got plenty of resources to even distribute amongst them. So heikini bostut amar yate ki lage, eta democratic liberal countries or principles lage. So as to emancipate the concept of refugee crisis that we can see today, which is globally happening. Okay, so ekhini bostut ami iman khini likhiye ami end koribo lagibo. Tarpot ahi jay ki, what do you understand by probity in governance? Based on the understanding of the theme, suggest measure for ensuring probity in government. Probity in governance, very important question. Mark my word, eta question probity rahiboi ahibo. Mark my word, sure ahibo. Mor phala pa guarantee loiba. Okay, pison nokoa je jabul sare question leak korise. So probity in governance, to ki koribo? Probity in governance refers to the adherence to the principles of integrity, honesty and ethical behavior in the conduct of public affairs by government officials and institutions. So adherence to what? Every type of values that are attached to a society, integrity, honesty and also ethical behavior. এই তিনটা বস্তু থাকে। ওকে, কি কি কলো? Integrity, honesty and ethical behavior. এই তিনটা যদি আছে in any form of public affairs by the government, I can say this is to be what? Okay, important aspect হয়ে যায়। তারপর to ensure probity in government, several measures can be implemented. First measure কি? Strong legal framework লাগিব লাগে to maintain probity in governance, basically integrity, honesty and ethical principles. তারপর code of conduct, সবৰে কাম কৰাৰ এটা process থাকিব লাগে, এটা code of conduct থাকিব লাগে যে মানুহে এনেকে কৰিব, মানুহে তেনেকে কৰিব. So with this code of conduct I can definitely say that we can enshrine probity in governance. Okay, it was an important factor হৈ যায়. Then I can say independent anti-corruption agencies. Supposedly today, every type of anti-corruption agencies, be it the ACP, that is the Anti-Corruption Bureau, they are under whom? They are under probably some under the government of India, the government of the state. Today, if I say about CBI, they are directly reporting back to the government of India. Then if I say about the state CID, they are under the respective state police. So obviously, they are not so independent as compared to the agencies which are basically seen outside our country. Whistleblower protection, one of the major element. আজি এই whistleblowers খিনি জানে যে আজি কোনে কোনখিনি informations মানুহে জানে, কোনখিনি নাজানে, that are very important and crucial. So obviously once you are having a particular whistleblower, once you are having a proper mandate of making every type of features associated with whistleblowing, you can say that whistleblowers protections are also very necessary. Then transparency and open data, promote transparency by making government processes, decisions and information easily accessible to the public. So as you do more transparency in the transparent no hoji, as the government is not transparent about what it is doing, what it is not, then obviously people will never rely and trust on this particular systems of government. So ekhini bostu amak lagibo. Tarpor ethical training and capacity building. So today, if the people who are a part of the government are not given some of the ethical trainings, then obviously how we can expect that they will provide some of the good manners in the society, or they will directly propagate some of the good values in the society. So obviously, that is enabling training and capacity building. That's what public participation and engagements. Without the public participation and engagements, public participation is very necessary in a country like us, where we are emancipating today the concept of participatory democracy. Today we are emancipating the concept of participatory democracy, and therefore participation of the people for consultations, for feedback, for mechanisms is very, very important today in any form of organizations. Okay, that's what performance evaluation and accountability. Okay, so june ki perform kori ase hekhini moi evaluate koribo lagibo, and I will make responsible jodi konobai bhul korise, I will held someone responsible to such number of wrong deeds. So performance evaluation and accountability is also very important. That's what media and civil society. Safeguarding media freedom and protection of the independence of civil society organization, enabling them to act as watchdog and hold the government accountable for its action. Very importantly. Okay, so Zudi Azimo Lihizu, if I have to go forward with the media and the civil society freedom, I have to safeguard the potential of making the peoples associated with this term very much essential, and hekane amak lagibo civil society and media logot eta coordination. So without having this civil society and media as a coordination, you cannot expect that the society can be very much in a welfare state. Okay, so amak hetu coordination lagibo aru himankhini amak freedom lagibo kak both organization, because even media is told to be one of the fourth pillar of our democracy. Okay, so so these measures collectively contribute to the establishing of probity in governance, fostering transparency, accountability and public trust in the government with institutions collaboration. Okay, so I can say that this will be more than sufficient. That's what public service is the basic objectives of the welfare state. In the context of the statement, enumerate public service values towards which all public servants should aspire. So here mainly public service. So if I have to say about the public service, which is a basic fundamental of welfare state, public service nuhage keteo ami welfare state ra expect koribo noaro. Okay, so therefore ki kole system of government organized to ensure the well-being of citizens is how the welfare state is best defined. So the main definition ki hoy welfare state. Okay, so therefore as governmental interventions are intended to ensure public service can be considered the fundamental goal of the welfare state. Very important. Okay, tapsor amar ahi jabo ki keeping the aims and aspirations of the welfare state in mind, public servants should aspire, okay, for certain public service values, and some indispensable public service values are what? Integrity, main important public service value. Accountability, integrity ki asle holders of public office must avoid placing themselves under any obligation to people or organization that might try inappropriately to influence them in their work. Mane honesty thakibo lagibo. Without being honest, you cannot expect that you will go and enhance the integrity attitude towards having a good nature towards the public. Okay, tapsor amak ki lagibo? Accountability lagibo, because holders of public office are accountable to the public for their respective decisions and actions and must submit themselves to the scrutiny necessary to ensure them. So a bostu amak immediately lagibo when we are not having a certain phenomenon of having this particular attitude. Tapsor commitment ahi jabo. Public servants should be committed to their duties and perform their work with involvement, intelligence and dexterity, and as highlighted by Swami Vivekananda, every duty is holy and devotion to duty is the highest form of worship. So manue worship nokorilo hobo if he is going with his duty and he has devotion towards his duty. Jitu kori ase bhalke kori ase in a good way, and I can see that that is the highest form of worship, which is even enumerated by Swami Vivekananda. Okay, which is even referred by Donald Trump as someone who is Swami Vivekananda. Okay, so so that is the criteria of having this particular element of devotion towards duty. Okay, that's what I hold key. Transparency, being transparent is also very good. Impartiality, that means no partiality towards any person inside the respective society. Society মাজত জুম মানুহে থাকে বা society আন্ডাৰত জুম মানুহে থাকে, we cannot expect that we will directly go with the partiality phenomena. So আমি impartiality যাব লাগিব, and impartiality is the core concept of having a respective attitude towards goodness. Okay, তাৰপিছত আহিলে কি leadership. So holders of public office should exhibit these principles in their own behavior. They should actively promote and robustly support the principles and should be willing to challenge poor behavior wherever it occurs. So without having a leader in the society, without having a leader, we cannot expect that we will directly go ahead in a society of goodness. So leadership amount লাগিবই. If you are not having a proper leadership, you cannot expect that a society will work in a very good and a ordered manner. So আমাক leadership লাগিব আৰু leadership লাগিলে আমাক কি হ'ব leadership will only take us ahead. মানুহৰ leadership লাগিব because in the Indian national movement also we have got leadership. Today in the country like us being a democratic country, we have also got a leader like Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So in every sense today we have got a leader and therefore who is taking our respective responsibility of taking in the path of development and progress. Okay, তাৰপিছত you can see conclusion দিব পাৰা যে empathy, political neutrality and all these are some of the important hallmarks of an efficient public servant, and these values are essential components of organizational culture and are instrumental in determining, guiding and informing behavior required in delivering welfare goals and vision by the society. So thus these values should largely be adopted by all and particularly from the core qualities of public servants. So that is one of the important criteria which you need to have towards this particular element of the subjective knowledge that you should have towards this particular element, which is directly defining about some of the principles which we need to have towards enshrining the public service and its particular delivery. Okay, also turning it to be under a welfare state. Okay. Next, coming to this question 17. Salvation of India depends on the realization by each man of divinity, and within this explain what it means to you. So we all know that this has been said by Swami Vivekananda, that means the salvation of India depends on the realization by each man of the divinity within. So what this particularly this instrument or this basically means to you. So the words of Swami Vivekananda that the salvation of this have great significance. Why? It highlights the strength and potential that each person possesses and contends that a country like India may advance and prosper when its citizens acknowledge and actualize their divine essence. So therefore Swami Vivekananda's nationalism was rooted on Indian philosophy, morality and religion, and believed that a nation should be made up of people rather than just a few geographical areas. So it was predicated on the idea that nationalism might be an effective and sufficient tool for achieving India's destiny. So without having a proper nationalism, without having a proper connotations towards nationalism, you cannot expect that a society will have a better understanding about a nation. So nation khon janibole, national principles janibole, national motto janibole, it's with the people. As a geographical jaga ama ki koribo paribo. Today I cannot say Delhi might be a capital of India, but who has made Delhi to be the prime capital within the world? It is the people of us, we the Indians have made. So दिल्ली सबका होता है, दिल्ली किसी एक का नहीं, दिल्ली किसी एक कम्युनिटी का नहीं, दिल्ली सबका है. We can also go, you can also go to Delhi. So therefore in such a scenario I can directly say that this is something which Swami Vivekananda's nationalism said. Okay, তাৰপিছত humanism and universalism served as a foundation for Vivekananda nationalism, giving it deeper depth and philosophical and spiritual undertone, and his profound compassion for the masses, the freedom and equality to express oneself and the spiritual fusion of all people on the foundation of global brotherhood all contributed to the development of these patriotic values. Very important. Okay, that's what Vivekananda believed that in order for Indians to have pride and respect for themselves, their nationalism needed to be based on solid historical tradition that include religion and spirituality. So আজি আমাৰ কাৰণে for a culture like us, our religion is important, our value systems are important, everything is important on the basis of our culture. So এই বস্তুটো আমাৰ বিবেকানন্দে কৈছিলে, and that is one of the major context of this. So the nationalism of Vivekananda is also predicted to be what? Karma Yogi, which is a code of ethics that aims to achieve both political and spiritual liberation through selfless service and willingness to make the ultimate sacrifice for one's country and fellow citizens. So therefore, in this particular way, I can directly say that Vivekananda's conception of nationalism was distinct from the materialistic secular nationalism of the West, which placed more emphasis on the notion of the nation state. Okay, so Swami Vivekananda regarded spirituality as a nexus where all many religious currents in India could come together to form a single national current. Okay, and therefore he has said about the unification of all religion to towards a better whole of this particular country. Okay, so therefore the statement made by Vivekananda emphasizes the significance of realizing and acknowledging each person's inherent divinity, and it demands introspection, internal change, and the development of virtues like love, compassion, and wisdom. So এই কথাখিনিয়ে আমাৰ স্বামী বিবেকানন্দে ক'ব গৈছিলে, okay, in the context of India's nationalism, and how could this nationalism can lead to some form of proper activities that can be enshrined under the values of a person who is basically a countryman. Okay, so এইখিনি কথাকে আমাৰ বিবেকানন্দে ইয়াতে কোৱা গৈছিল. Then if I see about the next question about the highest education is that which does not merely gives us information but makes our life in harmony with all existence. So elaborate in the present context. So ইয়াতে mainly এই যেটো আমাৰ ফেজ দিয়া গৈছে, okay, আজিৰ কনটেক্সটত আমি এইটো বস্তু ডিফাইন কৰিব লাগে. So I can say that according to the stated assertions, intelligence and wisdom suffer from ignorance, that is avidya. And for Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore, education should lead to self-realization. It denotes the knowledge of one's own global soul, and obtaining this rank is the goal of life. It's a process that can't be completed without instruction. So see, without having a proper knowledge, without having a proper attributes towards one having a good knowledge, you can see that at some point of time, someone or the other will have a proper acknowledgement of what he is doing in his lifetime. Okay, যদি আমি সেই বস্তুটো জানি থৈ দিওঁ that at some point of time this will directly leads to happiness, this will leads to directly some of the aspirations that we have towards the goal in our life system. So what is the relevance in the present context? So the current education system places more an emphasis on providing students with the knowledge and skills necessary for a successful career. So moral education and spiritual self-awareness are not being promoted without enough God. So আজি আমি কি জানো, আজি আমি দেখিছো যে whatever the type of systems that we have today in our society, আজি আমাৰ যেটো education system হয়, educational value হয়, today this educational system face more emphasis on providing students with the knowledge and skills. Knowledge or skills level basic concentrated হয়, okay, but moral education আমাক বহুত কম দিয়া যায়, spiritual education বহুত কম দিয়া যায়. But today we need what? We need moral education, we need this spiritual education, we all need that. Because without having a proper morality, you cannot expect that a society will grow in ranch. Okay? So, এইবিলাক আহি যায়, তাৰপিছত self realization আহি যায়, then we can see about intellectual development ৰ কথা আহি যায়, physical development ৰ কথা আহি যায়, okay, then we can see love for humanity, freedom, moral and spiritual development, এই গোটেই কথাখিনি আহি যায়. তো আজি যদি আমাৰ এডুকেশ্যন সিস্টেমত যদি আমি এইখিনি বস্তু ইমবাইব কৰি দিব পাৰো, then at some point of time I can directly say that this will lead to betterment and goodness in the ability of a person to deal with any form of circumstances. Okay, so এইখিনি কথাই Tagore's ideas কথা কৈছিল, education will be valued in every age because they are based on inculcation of morality and spirituality, understanding, intercultural understanding, and peace, respect, and intimacy with nature, social engagement, and artistic abilities and creativity, which is one of the major impact that can be seen with respect to this element. Okay, next, where the roots of private virtue are disease, the fruit of public probity cannot be corrupt. Explain the statement in the context of working civil servants. Okay, so here key kotha koise, the aforementioned sentence seeks to emphasize how personal virtue is necessary for anyone to act honorably. So here the term private virtue refers to moral qualities or behaviors for which within every broad bounds the greater institutional order is important. For instance, whether the society is egalitarian or aristocratic, everyone can display the quality of being honest or trustworthy. Okay, so এই বস্তুটো আমাৰ আহি যায় in the context of India. Okay, India কাৰণে আমাৰ বহুত importantly হয়. So if I have to say about the context of this answer, you can say that adhering to moral and ethical principles like honesty, integrity, rectitude, uprightness, etc. is what is meant by probity, and it is the existence of high ethical standards combined with procedural integrity. Okay, so এনেকুৱা নহয় যে integrity এবাৰ থাকিলে হয়, integrity needs to be shown in entire process. Okay, one of the important criteria. What is the importance of virtue for civil servants to maintain probity in governance? There are বহুত খিনি কি আছে, decision making ভাল হ'ব লাগিব, one of the important aspect. Okay, then because of this a government servant needs to possess strong moral character. Obviously if he is very much immoral in nature, you cannot expect him to be a good civil servant. Okay, one of the important criteria. Then you can see that you have to be saying about the probity যেটো আমি কথা কলো. Okay, then you can see that hence private virtue is vital for public workers to display integrity in their work as leaders. By adopting moral and ethical virtue in one's private life, one can ensure probity in public service. So আজি এনেকুৱা নহয় যে আমি only public space ওতে আমি নিজৰ property দেখাই আছো. Even the private virtues are also very important once you are dealing with the public in a greater whole of the society. And that is very important criteria once you are having a good allocations towards having a good systems of government in the current scenario. So আজি যদি মই scenario কথা কৈ দিওঁ, that at some point of time you can directly observe that এটা public attitude আৰু এটা প্ৰাইভেট এটিটিউডৰ মাজৰ যিখিনি আমাৰ ডিফাৰেন্স আছে সেই ডিফাৰেন্সখিনি আমি কমাই আনিব লাগিব আৰু যিমানে আমি প্ৰাইভেট এটিটিউড বা আমি পাব্লিক এটিটিউড ৰাখোঁ so at some point of time I can directly explain that private attitudes needs to be very much enlarged once you are having a social atmosphere. So এই বস্তুখিনি আমাৰ কাৰণে বহুত ইম্পৰ্টেণ্ট হৈ যায় that private virtue is vital for public workers to display integrity in their work as leaders. Because without having the private virtue, a leader cannot attain a good number of success in doing some of the public or societal works. Okay? Chalo. Ahilu last question for today. In order to improve the bureaucratic work culture and productivity, there is a need to downsize government and privatize some of the services, critically discussed with examples. Okay? So here last question ki kose? To improve the bureaucratic work culture and productivity, there is a need to downsize government and private some of the services. Mainly, ইয়াতে কি কথা কোৱা গৈছে privatization কথা কোৱা আছে that how privatization can be helpful for India or for any government in the present context. Okay, chalo ki aisa answer to. So the bureaucracy has been viewed as a formalized governing subsystem of the larger societal system due to its size and significance, and the way government is run, how its institutions cooperate with others governmental entities including other departments and citizens, how decisions are made, etc., are aspects of bureaucracy's work culture. And as a result, the administrative workplace has a culture of excessive red tape, ineffective service delivery, excessive decision-making delays, and even laziness. बहुत important factor है बिला. Okay, so downsizing government, there is a need of restructuring, reorganizing, and downsizing various ministries and departments. Okay, then downsizing can be achieved through what? Ministerial staff divided into numerous categories such as UDC, LDC. Okay, upper divisional clerk, lower divisional clerk, এইবিলাক কি হয় এইবিলাক এটা particular areas হয় through which we can directly have a proper balance and downsizing the respective economy, the government, sorry, not economy. Along with digitalization of government services, the Singapore model, whereas the government selects best bureaucrats on a renewable contract basis, is word ability. Okay, বাকি বিলাকক কি কৰে এৰি দিয়ে so আমাৰ নিচিনা নহয় এবাৰ পালি মানে পালি. You have to show some of the performance, and once you are not showing performance, you are all gone. Okay, then lateral entry from other services and from open market and a reward system for performance is also needed. Edu lahake government start koribo thoriছে lateral system. Okay, privatization services, post liberalization, etu amar important part hoy gosile. Okay, where a facilitator for development, and as such there has been a trend towards privatization, especially of the loss making and peripheral business such as hotel, tourism, engineering, etc. Okay, so supposedly as moi Air India kothai kom privatized, like our airports, Adani groups privatized. Okay, ইহঁতক ললে টাটাই হোটেলস বিলাকো আজি ধৰিলে মই যদি কওঁ বিমানটা বাই টাচ টাটাৰ হয় so এইবিলাক বস্তু হৈ যায় in this particular scenario. Then also PPP models, okay, public private partnerships, এইবিলাক এটা important হয় যায়, and it is expected to promote competition leading to cost cutting and greater customer satisfaction. So however, private ownership alone may not translate into improved efficiency, and public interest has profit making strategies to make essential services unaffordable or unavailable to large segments of the population. Okay, so therefore if you have to wrap up this particular question, you can say that does the concerns related to affordability of essential services, social equity, accountability, and all this, okay, has addressed before outrighting downsizing of the government officials, and in order to improve the work culture and increase productivity, following steps needs to be considered. Key steps: addressing the political bureaucracy relationship. Politics আৰু bureaucracy মাজত যেটো relationship হয় কেতিয়াবা হেতু বহুত better হৈ যায়, হেতুক আমি ভাল কৰিব লাগিব. Okay, then also transparent objective হেতু লাগিবই, accountability লাগিবই. Biometric attendance বহুত important হয় because today every office has got biometric attendance to has to register the attendance of each and every person joining the respective office. Okay, so এইখিনি বস্তু আমাৰ কাৰণে বহুত important হয় আৰু লাষ্টত এটা আমাক feedback mechanisms লাগিব, also a grievance redressal mechanism which will cooperate and enhance the public service and public participation in that particular process. Okay, so এইখিনি দি পেলাই you can directly end off this particular question. Okay, so this was all for today. So if you have got any doubts in association of our programs, and if you want to join, supposedly any of the new visitors who are want to join any of our programs, okay, so we have got 2 batches starting from 18th of June and also from around 18th of July. So these two batches will cover the foundation course, which covers the prelims, mains and interview. So if you want to come towards us and join us the program, please contact us by this number 91275-15541, where our representatives will directly allot you some of the questions that you have in your mind regarding APSC or UPSC. Okay, so that was all for today from my side. Thank you and have a good day.